What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday. Making the turn Wednesday here on the Dan Kasper Show. Appreciate you tuning in wherever you may be tuning in. If it's on those radio dials, if it's at sportstalk1051.com, maybe you're checking out the video feed that's available on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Got the app in your Google and Alexa home devices. But good morning, all you sports junkies out there. Appreciate you making this a part of your start on this Making the Turn Wednesday. It also is a good vibing Wednesday. It's a showdown Wednesday. All the usual suspects lined up here for today. Let's go through the game plan. As we just mentioned, we've got We got stock reports due since it's making the turn Wednesday. Whose stock is rising and whose stock is falling, in your opinion? We'll take your suggestions. We'll take your picks throughout the morning. We've got a couple of good vibing, good feel good stories for your Wednesday. We'll do another showdown. In case you don't know what showdown is, we do this every Wednesday in the 8 o'clock hour. Kind of just a little fun thing where we take a break. Well, not necessarily a break because we still hit up some sports, but we kind of do a little fun segment. A lot of you getting a lot of good feedback from it. But we kind of select 2 years to do battle in a bracket style format. And we try to figure out what was the best year between 1963 and 2010. It was just that time frame we picked to make it easier for the brackets. Okay, it wasn't scientific or anything. But we'll get to another showdown here, and then the 3 categories are sports, movies, music. We debate it, we pick it, and sometimes we have to leave it up to you guys to be the tie-breaking vote. So this morning, the 2 years we're going at 1965 versus 1980. All right, so we'll get that up in the 8 o'clock hour. So those are your usual suspects on the game plan here this morning. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers. We're going to be talking about this. He obviously was on his buddy Pat McAfee's show yesterday in his usual spot, Tuesdays with Aaron, and made some comments that if you have Twitter, you probably saw a bunch of reaction. Packers Twitter was a little cray-cray yesterday. Kind of a little arguing between fans, between media people. I mean, it was nuts. Okay, probably had to take a break. For those of you who don't have Twitter, you probably good work. Thumbs up to you all, so you didn't have to see all the bickering that was kind of going on back and forth. But a lot of it dealing with some of the comments from quarterback number 12. If you didn't hear the comments, don't worry, because, we're going to play some of them. We're going to play some of them for you here. Aaron talked about his performance. He talked about maybe the future performance of some players, the mental mistakes, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it would do. I want to play these clips because I don't think it'll do its justice to just read them off. I think you need to hear it and probably even watch them if you haven't seen any of the video clips out there. So we'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. But I know a lot of you have some strong feelings, if you will, on some of the stuff that Rodgers had to say yesterday. So we'll play them, kind of get your feedback, and kind of go from there. But Aaron will be talking again today at his locker as the Packers do return to practice today as they prepare to go up against the Buffalo Bills in that Sunday night game, prime time. So we'll see. I'm sure the local media will ask him about some of the stuff that he had to say yesterday. So we'll see what his follow-up is going to be. But apparently Mercedes Lewis and Dallin Leavitt, the new special teams player, both gave some speeches after that loss in the locker room, right after that loss in the locker room against Washington. So, but yeah, we'll hit that up coming up here in just a couple minutes on the opening drive. If it seems like it's been a while since the Bucks played a basketball game, well, it's because it has been. I mean, their last game was a win against Houston on Saturday. So they're finally back at it tonight. Early, good contest taking on the Brooklyn Nets. You'll be able to catch that game on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. 6:30 coverage is going, or 6:30 the tip-off tonight. Coverage is going to begin about 6 p.m. So an early battle between two Eastern Conference teams that a lot of people have picked to either come out of the East or or finish towards the top of the Eastern Conference. Brooklyn, maybe a little bit more of an unknown for many people because, well, the Kyrie situation and how the whole, dynamic between him and KD and Ben Simmons will all work out. But it'll be a good early test here for this Bucks team. So we'll take a look at that. And going back to the combo we had yesterday about the Grayson Allen and the Jay Crowder trade and all that, in case anybody's wondering, our informal poll that we kind of had based off the texts we got, the tweets we got, the Facebook messages we got, comments and all that sort of stuff, it honestly was about 50-50, whether you would rather have Jay Crowder or Grayson Allen. So 50-50, right down the line. Some were a little bit more adamant towards either keeping or getting rid of Grayson Allen for Jay Crowder. Some were like, nah, kind of a wash. So that's kind of where it's at right now. Haven't heard anything else about the latest rumors surrounding this potential trade, but I'm sure there's a lot. As we broke it down yesterday, there's some fine details and some loopholes and some stuff that they kind of have to go through to make this work, because it's not as simple as just trading a couple players and for Jay Crowder or anything like that. And Suns picked up the win last night, so they're off to a 3-1 start. So they probably they probably want to get a player that would help them out this year. As got to imagine that they still feel like their championship window is right now. So we'll hit that up and a bunch of other stuff too. We'll touch on a little hockey. It's been a few days here, so kind of do a little NHL updates. I know it's in the early parts of the season, but we got we'll kind of take a look at where things are standing in the first couple weeks here of the season. If you're looking at it, Boston, it's up in their division 6-1, or excuse me, yeah, their division. You've got Carolina up in their division right now. Got the Dallas Stars, Colorado Avalanche, Chicago Blackhawks, all at 4-2 in the Central and the Western. But you got the St. Louis Blues, who have only played 4 games right now, but they're 3-1. Vegas Golden Knights, 6-2. Calgary, 5-1. My Kraken, 500. Just saying, don't sleep on the Kraken from being a surprise team. The Wild, though, off to a 2-3 starts so far in this season. A bunch of Wild fans and a bunch of Black in our area. So we'll hit up a little NHL talk at some point throughout the morning too. So, but I know you guys want to get into it right away, so let's just jump into it, okay? So, Aaron Rodgers. I don't like calling him A-Rod because there's already an A-Rod, so I call him A-Rod. But he made some comments yesterday from the Pat McAfee show, and we'll play them, and then I'll kind of give my 2 cents worth on this whole thing. But if you haven't listened to them, I suggest you listen to them instead of read the comments, or even watch them if you kind of want to get the whole, well, what's his facial expressions look like, and that sort of thing. But I think let's listen to the whole thing and not just pick and choose some of the comments out of here. So if you haven't listened to them, we will play them coming up here in just a little bit, and then you kind of draw your conclusions or your analysis. It's one of those things. I'll just kind of tee it off this way. It's one of those things where, we want players and coaches to speak more, or kind of like maybe tell the truth a little bit more. Yet when they do, and then it's like, well, the dude should say stuff like that. So, I mean, you can't have it both ways. It's got to be either or. So it is what it is. But we'll take that break, and then we'll let you guys decide on your own. So opening drive, we'll kind of dissect and analyze and get some reaction from what Rodgers had to say yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, and see where everybody else is kind of at and how you feel about those comments. The other day I was asked for some input about what type of floor someone should put in their man cave, in their rec room, and should they go luxury vinyl planks like the Rigid Max floors from Carpet City Flooring Center, or one of the many awesome looking styles of carpets at Carpet City Flooring Center. Man, you can go so many different ways with this. But as I told this individual, it's what type of floor speaks to you in your room, and that they could chat with the team at Carpet City Flooring Center for some input too, because the knowledgeable and incredibly helpful staff at Carpet City Flooring Center will not only help you select the floor that would look best in your home and budget, but they would help you select the floor that would function the best in your particular area. That's what they did for me. They helped me select the best color that would not only look good, but would last in heavy traffic, and the type of floor that would function best in the area. So we all know home improvement projects can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but the thing is, with Carpet City Flooring Center, they make it so easy and simple that it takes the nerves out of it for you. And just don't take my word for it. Look at all the positive reviews left by other happy customers when you simply Google Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. So if you have any questions or need help when it comes to updating your floor, look no further than the local experts at Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Stop on in today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. All right, let's just jump into this thing. So Aaron Rodgers doing his weekly thing on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. Kind of made some comments that ruffled some people's feathers. Others, like, no big deal. He's speaking some of the truth. Where do you fall on this whole thing? So, audio courtesy, Pat McAfee show. We got a few of them coming up here. So let's lead it off where Aaron's talking a little bit about some of the mental mistakes and the errors, and just how many mental mistakes that they're making in these games, kind of compared to years prior on this thing. Again, audio courtesy from Pat McAfee show.
Hey, quick pivot back to the Washington game. What exactly you think? What were they doing defensively? I give their defense credit, honestly. Like, what were they doing, I guess, to give you guys a tough time for your offense?
Nothing.
Then what was it?
People are going to be so mad with your answer. So mad about it.
Look, I mean, they didn't have to do anything. They rushed 4 guys. They played cover 4. They sprinkled a couple weak inserts and a couple man coverages, and that was it.
So what do you think it is?
They got good players, but as far as like schematically, what did they do? Just lined up and played.
So what do you think it is? Why do you think there is some struggles? Growing pains was obviously a conversation early. There was a report that you guys were going to do something with your offensive line, and then whenever last minute came out that Bakhtiari woke up on Saturday and his knee didn't feel good, they kind of went away from that. It felt like you could just never really get anything going. Aaron Jones got in the end zone twice. Okay, hey, here we go. Here we go. Aaron Jones getting back into it, but it never really felt like you guys were able to do anything. Is it just you think it was them making plays, you guys not execute? What do you think it is?
Well, I mean, they have a nice front. They have a lot of first rounders in that front. They got a good, good linebackers. They're good on the back end. But we had so many just mental errors and mistakes. It's not the kind of football we're used to playing over the years. There have definitely been games, 4 or 5 seasons where we average, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 at the most, kind of mental errors or missed assignments per week. And some weeks you have like 4, 2 sometimes. This week, this season a lot more every single week. It's double digits every single week. It's even on a game we had like 50 plays or something. It wasn't a ton of plays. Like they had 37 minutes of time possession. A lot of mistakes.
So talking about double digit mental mistakes compared to years prior where 2, 4, that sort of thing. So when it comes to double digit mental errors, is that coaching? Is that players taking accountability on themselves? Aaron alluded to it a little bit later about preparation off the field, out of practice, that sort of thing. Probably got some flashbacks to the whole Eddie Lacy era, if you remember. That's from a few years ago. But is it maybe it's a combination of both? Is it the coaches doing their jobs well enough to prepare these players, but at some point, it's got to be players' own accountability, right? Their own ownership to kind of make sure that they're properly prepared for some of these games. But at the beginning of that clip too, you heard Aaron. It was AJ Hawk who asked him, about Washington's defense, and Aaron saying they didn't do anything special, nothing really schematically. It was they lined up and they played and they outplayed us. That's essentially they outplayed them and pretty much every single facet on defense. They didn't do anything special. They lined up and they beat their man across from them, which kind of just adds a little bit more, I guess, gasoline to the fire of what in HE double hockey sticks is going with the offense. Speaking of players taking ownership, here's what Aaron Rodgers had to say about that particular topic.
I think when the players really take over, then you're going to see the possibility of us making a run. So when the players really take over, I'm not talking about usurping power from us. I'm talking about we take over, we take ownership of what we're putting on the field. Now, some of that might be in the plan. Some of that might be, hey, I really want to do this, offense, defense, teams, whatever it might be. But the other part is taking ownership of your daily habits and your routines. Just because we're a young team, we can't just write that off as, oh, they're figuring it out. The rookies are figuring it out. They're going to go through their rookie wall. We need everybody on the same page to make the plays that are possible. We need them Monday to Saturday to put in the time to be ready to play Sunday, because there's too many times in the game there's simple things that just are not being accomplished.
How close are you? We hear people talk about like different players about their team. Oh, we're really close. Even maybe losing some games. Okay, we're close. We're almost there. We just got to figure it out. Do you feel like you guys are close and it's just one player here or there?
It's definitely not just one play here or there. Like I said, it's 20% of the time. If we have 50 plays and we have 10 mental missed assignments or mental errors, that's 20% of the time. That's way too high. In the past, we're looking more like at less than percent. So it gives really good chance to successful. 20%, that's too high. That's one play a series where you're really making it tough on yourself. So we got to fix that. And whatever that is, guys who are making too many mistakes shouldn't be playing. We got to start cutting some reps. And maybe guys who aren't playing, give them a chance. So we're going to see. We made some changes, last week. We moved Josh over to right tackle. We moved John to right, Elton to left guard. So, we're doing some things. And there'll be more opportunities for other guys moving forward too, especially with our injury situation as we look at this week and see who's healthy.
So that was a big one that got Packers Twitter and Packers social media fired up yesterday. The comment where Aaron mentioned about, cutting some reps, playing some other guys not doing their jobs, guys screwing up too much, got to cut some reps and maybe give to some other players out there. And that was the one of the comments that really kind of like got the ire or fire or really annoyed a good chunk of fans out there. So you hear it. Do you agree with Aaron? But maybe he shouldn't have said it in the media. Essentially, TJ Lang is one of those guys who actually retweeted that and followed up by saying it's stuff like that probably should have been better said or kept inside the locker room, kept inside the building there. So a lot of people having some issues that Aaron went out and kind of like said, if you're screwing up, we got somebody else. We got to play somebody else, that sort of thing. Do you have a problem with Aaron saying that publicly? Do you have issues with him saying that out in the open? Or do you think it's vague enough, like he's not specifically calling out a certain player here or there or players, and this is a quote-unquote motivation tactic? I don't know. but I'm curious to kind of get you, the listeners, your thoughts on that one. That was a big one that really kind of, that was like, I don't know if it was trending, but that was the big one of the big ones from yesterday. So I've got a couple more though that I want to play for you here, and we had a big one that really kind of set some fire to Packers fans yesterday. But how will the Packers start getting better results? Well, Aaron says that they got to play with a little bit more confidence going forward.
We're lucky to get to ride the wave of an NFL season with an NFL quarterback, let alone the guy's the back-to-back MVP. And this would take, a real human to say this. And I don't know if you're at this point, but is there times where you're dropping back, where you have zero confidence or faith in some people that you're on the field with and doing what they're supposed to do? So it kind of makes you second guess yourself. Is there anything affecting how you play with that? Is that outside stuff potentially affect how you are and how comfortable you are in every single play? And is that something you've thought about?
I can't say. I'm too big of an optimist. So I really think the best in people, and I expect that high level. So for me to go out there and think, oh man, this dude is guaranteed not run the right route, I have no idea what he's doing. I don't think like that, because I just have an expectation that, we've had these conversations for months now about certain things, and they're going to recall it in the moment, and I know they're going to do the right thing. We're going to make this work. So I just have a lot of optimism when I'm out there. Now sometimes they test my optimism for sure, but there's always it's the good with the bad. How do we get them to really lock in on those positive things that goes with them, and then play with confidence. Play with the confidence that the young players had at their colleges when they were the man. They were the BMOC. They were coming through every single week. And I can get them to play with that type of confidence. Then I expect some better results.
All right, so just a little bit again from Aaron talk players. Got to still start building some confidence, start getting maybe in a little bit of a momentum there, if you will. But this is the last one we'll play, and this was another one that really kind of had people, well, let's just say, animated a little bit here too. So Aaron, let's just say he was asked about his own performance, and this was his answer yesterday.
Confidence comes from preparation. Obviously, preparation leads to results, and everything kind of goes hand in hand. After the results are given, this particular game against the Commanders, you watch it, you judge everybody on every play, you judge yourself on every play. How do you go about watching a game like the Commanders to correct it for going forward? And what did you see out of yourself against the Commanders?
Yeah, judge everything. Yeah. Every play, my own performance, all of it. I mean, this was my highest graded game by Tom, which people would be surprised to hear. But, we obviously didn't execute, a lot of drops, couple missed throws. But we're behind the sticks. We're 2nd and 20, 3rd and 25, 1st and 15s, way too many penalties, way too many drops, not enough rushing attempts because we were behind the sticks the whole time. Obviously, Aaron Jones, every time he touches it, is going to make a bunch of big plays, as a possibility. But, yeah, man, there were 3 or 4 plays where if we just do what we're supposed to do, those are the key plays. I tell them all the time. It could be the first play of the game, could be the last play of the game, any play in between. 1 play often, 2 plays, 3 plays at the most can determine the outcome of the game. And sometimes the simplest plays are just a outside release here. This happens, boom, boom, first down, move on to, we're getting points in this drive. Little things. It's the details.
All right. So that was the other one there where he mentioned that Tom Clements, his quarterback's coach, gave his highest grade of the season so far from that Washington game, which upset a lot of Packers fans, at least that, he threw that out there. And that one doesn't really, because you read it, it's like, what does he say? Is he like boosting up his ego, morale? He kind of chuckles afterwards, and he does mention there, it probably surprises a lot of people. But then he followed up by saying, yeah, I missed a couple throws and all that. And here's the thing. We don't know how he's been graded in the other few weeks here. I'm not trying to back him up or anything, but okay, if that was his highest graded game, that still might be like what, a C minus, D plus. We don't know how the other games were graded for crying out loud. So, we don't know a whole lot behind the scenes there, but a lot of issues with Aaron going out there and saying this was his highest graded game according to his own quarterback coach, Tom Clements. Whether we agree with it or not, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I didn't have a problem with that one, but a lot of people did. A lot of people had a lot of problems with what Aaron had to say yesterday in the McAfee show. Again, audio courtesy from one of those audio clips, courtesy from the Pat McAfee show. I think this is just me, and I realize I might be in the minority in some of this, but I felt like Packer Twitter. And I'm kind of for Twitter because if you don't have Twitter, that's the action from people. Something gets out there, it's boom, you can send a tweet, it's instant reaction. It's, like opinions and thoughts right away. And I just thought, I'm like, holy moly, okay, we need to like take a deep breath and just settle down. Like, I understand it's been a frustrating season. It's been, disappointments the last few weeks. We didn't expect this team to be 3-4 at this point, but we just, come on now, people. We gotta take a deep breath. Let's just take a deep breath. We need to chill and just settle down here a little bit. Okay, let's just do that. Now I know I might be in the minority in this thing, but holy moly, there was a lot of people really angry, really angry. We had fans bickering at each other. We had fans bickering at players, at reporters, and all that. It's like, hey, kumbaya out here. Okay, let's just take a deep breath. You may not like the fact that Aaron goes out and talks and says all that sort of stuff, but let's take a deep breath. Now, the one that I think probably, you can kind of go to like TJ Lang, and in this instance, is I kind of want to see like players' reactions or former players' reactions, and I had a guy like TJ Lang's reaction when about the comment about, hey, we got to start cutting reps for players who aren't doing their jobs and that sort of thing, and when TJ Lang says, ooh, maybe keep that one in the locker room. I take that one with a little bit more like I take that one a little bit more substance to that, because, well, not only is he a former player, but he's a dude who's played with Aaron Rodgers. He's played with Aaron Rodgers for a long time. He knows how Aaron Rodgers operates. He knows the personality of Aaron Rodgers, that sort of thing. So that one I kind of take a little bit more in. I'm like, oh, okay, there's something there. I kind of, that one means a little bit more. And that one, yeah, you first hear it. You read that, you read the headlines, you read the comments and clickbait or whatever you want. It's like, oh, did he really say that? And then you listen to it, and yeah, he flat out said, dudes who aren't getting it done, we got to cut reps. We got to go somewhere else. Now, you might think, hey, he ain't wrong. If guys aren't getting the job done, do we got to go to other dudes? We got to go to other players and get the job done. Might not be wrong, but I think the issue was, or is, for a lot of people out there, did you have to say it in the media? And it kind of goes back to this whole cycle. There's some fans that get, they're frustrated with coach speak or GM speak or player speak, that they never say anything in interviews. Yet when they are saying stuff in interviews, or when they kind of drop stuff like that, and you got people upset, you can't say stuff like that. It's just a never-ending cycle in this whole thing. So that one might have been like, ooh, yeah. So I'm curious to see, there's going to be follow-ups today. If there isn't follow-ups, then reporters aren't doing their jobs at this point. If they don't follow up with some of that, especially, cutting the reps, that sort of thing. If they don't follow up on that, and they ain't do the job. Do I think it might have been a little bit exaggerated? I honestly think it might have been a little bit over-exaggerated at this point. Do I necessarily agree with him going out there and saying it? I could have maybe phrased it a little bit better. But, hey, maybe just don't beat around the bush and just get straight to the point and call it out. Has Aaron played extremely well this year? Heck no. Has he played as awful as some people want to make it out to be? No, he hasn't. He hasn't. Has he played average? Maybe average, maybe a little below average, maybe a little bit above average. Somewhere around there. He hasn't played at an MVP level. He hasn't played at a great level. But I also don't think he's played at a level where, people are calling for Jordan Love to play right now over Aaron Rodgers. There's some that just want to throw gas on the fire. It's a touchy subject. It's a touchy subject for a lot of people because they get so animated. They get so into what quarterback 12 has to say or doesn't say at times. So me personally, and again, I get it. I'm going to be in the minority in this thing, but it's my opinion. It's my thoughts on the thing. I thought it was a little over-exaggerated from Packers fans. I get the frustration levels are so dang high right now that they're so high. The disappointment is at an all-time high. Emotions are kind of coming out. And I understand that, and I totally get it. But I also feel like it was like, okay, wait, just everybody take a deep breath. Let's not we're all Packers fans for crying out loud. Let's just chill and let's just settle down a little bit. Okay? Let's just settle down a little bit. And we'll see how it plays out this week. Looking at this Buffalo game, I don't know if too many people picking Green Bay. In fact, I don't know of anybody who is going to pick Green Bay in this game. Maybe besides G-Man, of course, because he's always the ever optimist man. Everybody needs to be like G-Man when it comes to their favorite teams there. Always the optimist and always cheering for them. But, maybe when you're looking at this game, maybe the biggest thing to look for on Sunday night is just the fight, the enthusiasm, the heart. How do they come out there and how do they perform? Like, you're on prime time. You're in the spotlight. You're going up against who everybody and their grandma is picking to win the Super Bowl. You're in their house. Where is there going to be fight? Is there going to be heart? I think that's honestly the main thing that I'm going to be looking for. Obviously, I would love a win. That's always number one. I don't care how they do it. I don't care if it's Aaron throwing 95 yards and they win the ball game. I don't care. Just want the W, but I want to see some heart. I want to see some fight. I want to see this team go out there and show something, show some resilience, show some battle wounds, not giving up. It's a tough stretch. It's been poo-poo, but I want to see this team come out there and give some fight and showcase that they're not giving up. Outside the win, that's kind of the biggest thing I'm looking for right now. All right. And yeah, obviously he mentioned some other stuff, and David Bakhtiari, he kind of thought that David's going to be playing this weekend and all that. But we'll kind of get a glimpse of the practice report coming up here later on today. So, all right, we got to take a quick break though, and we got to finish up this first hour. So we'll take some of your thoughts via text 715-830-1912 on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or on the Facebook feeds or on Twitter too. You can, or YouTube. Got a bunch of different ways. So hit me up on those platforms. All right. We'll take a quick break. Then we'll finish up the first hour really quick. Second hour, we're going to talk some Bucks. Bucks finally back in action. It's been forever, for crying out loud. All right, so I've actually got two good vibes coming out right now. So we've got I'm going to go with there was a story from John Calipari with Kentucky basketball. He saw a picture. So there was a dad who is a works in the mines, and he had rushed to a game for Kentucky to be with his kid to watch a game, and somebody had snapped a picture, and he was in his work clothes, and face was dirty and all that sort of stuff. Calipari saw that and was just loved the fact that dad rushed to the game to be with his son to watch basketball, didn't care how he looked or anything like that. So John Calipari wants to get a hold of that family, wants to get a hold of that dad and set them up with some sweet tickets and come to another game. I thought that was really cool of John Calipari, seeing that, noticing that, and just kind of giving a little thank you to the dad over there. So that was cool. Also, we mentioned it yesterday, but the Badgers, I always like seeing these scholarship videos when a team awards a scholarship to a current player. Maybe they're a walk-on or anything like that. But Wisconsin basketball did that the other day, kind of in a surprise video. It was on the big board in the Kohl Center there, but they did that for one of their own players. That might have been a couple days ago now, but Isaac Anderson was the dude that got that, or Isaac, excuse me, got that scholarship. Morgs.
Hey, speaking of that good vibe story with Calipari,
Yeah.
the dad was a coal miner.
Yeah.
So he came up and he had like the dusty coal mine stuff on his face and was there to catch his kid's game.
Mhm.
And you know what? You hear so much about like bad parents in the stands that are ragging on the refs and stuff like that. I think it is important to point out that there are so many good parents that are trying to make it there and balance schedules. I mean, I'm standing next to parents that work swing shift or overnight at some of these games with Seggy, and parents are trying to. So don't just let the bad eggs and the loudest ones ruin it for the group. There are
Right.
a lot of great parents and family members coming out to support their kiddos, and,
Yep.
and that's always nice to see.
Exactly.
And let that kind of take center stage versus the loudmouths that are ruining it for the class.
And they're loud.
And they're louder than they need to be for
Yes.
sure.
Absolutely.
Doing like the slow look away, like, oh my gosh, do not associate me with these people. How are you moving through life as an adult? That kind of thing.
I've seen crazy ones being a YMCA sports director.
Yeah, I imagine. Did you feel like the refs should have flags to throw back into the parents and
I
say, you
felt
know what?
bad too. Is like a lot of our reps were high school kids.
Oh my, well,
And it was,
Siggy was playing 3-on-3. She
Mhm.
played the 3-on-3 league in Hudson. So, she was there. And the
Mhm.
kids that were there at 3-on-3, it's a great program. They've been running it forever. They're high school kids.
Yeah.
They're there, and maybe they're not calling everything. But, I mean, have you ever watched tween girls play sports? They get a little rowdy and throw some elbows.
I still
you know?
remember the day it was flag football, 4K
Yeah.
football too.
Basically toddlers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two dads. I had two high school refs run up to me like freaking out because two dads were ready to go blow to blow, and I got over there and their noses are touching.
And I guarantee
4K flag football.
their kids are the ones that are acting mature and having fun playing together on the field, and they're 4 years old.
Yeah.
Take a lesson from your kids. I think
And
that
that's why I don't get upset or ruin my day after like a
either.
Packers loss or something like that, because I don't want my little guy to see that or anything
well,
like that.
and not only that, it's that really sports exists for so many people to be a release.
Mhm.
And if you start taking it so seriously, not only are you a complete fun sponge, just sucking it all out of the room, you're completely missing the point of sports as an outlet, a reprieve, in a lot of cases, just kind of a form of therapy for people, a little sweat therapy, getting in there to be able to play. And as a spectator, being able to watch and enjoy it, especially when you're at like a little kid level.
Mhm.
I mean, that's pure fun at that point. And you're
Right.
learning more than just how to get the ball in the hoop or into the end zone. You're learning a lot about sportsmanship and team play and working your butt off and sucking it up when it's not easy and that kind of thing. And that's
Mhm.
more important. But
Yep.
if you turn around and your parents are acting like a bunch of schmoozers in the stand, well, there goes the fun.
Right.
So just come on.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Look at us.
Wednesday
Who would've thought?
wild card.
I don't think we have time.
We don't?
No.
It's just pure good vibes all
Just
around.
good vibes.
Oh,
How
God.
about that?
No wonder I need a barf bag. Makes me feel a
Wow.
little nauseous.
Well,
in
Friday
here.
we'll have to do a little Halloween theme.
Oh, do not
Because-
bring your hockey mask. If
That
I
one?
see you wear that thing and scare me one more time every year like tradition, I might not live through it anymore.
I wasn't going to do anything, but now that you called me out, I might have to do something.
Oh, now it sounds fun.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to live in tension and on edge for the next 2 days.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, great. Wait, what's Hudson going to dress up as?
I don't know why. Red Power Ranger. He doesn't watch Power Rangers. The only thing I think he wanted was a sword.
Oh,
So,
I can see that. It's all about the accessories at some point.
Yep.
Tell him he's Iron Man. Make it more current than Power Rangers.
Right.
Right?
All right, second hour kicking off on this Making a Turn Wednesday. Don't forget stock reports are due, so whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling, in your opinion. You can let us know on Twitter, Facebook, Shoe Doctors texting line, YouTube, all that good stuff. Coming up this hour, we'll hit up a little hoop stock. Bucks finally back in action. It seems like they've been off forever at this point. Nice little break after getting 2 games in here, but they'll be at home taking on the Brooklyn Nets tonight at 6:30. Let's do some sports nuggets of the day here. Let me bring this up. By the way, Luke, we already got our year selected for you, so do your research. 1965 versus 1980.
Ooh, 65, 80. All right.
65 and 80. So got a little bit of a gap in there.
Okay, sounds good.
So you weren't born in 65 though either.
No. I was around in 80, not
Yep.
65.
Okay, so that should be a good one.
Very
So-
much not 65.
All right. So, okay, let's do a couple sports nuggets of the day here. 1990, Wayne Gretzky became the first NHL player to reach 2,000 points. 5 years later, in 1995, Mario Lemieux scored his 500th NHL career goal against the Islanders in his 605th game. He became the second fastest player to attain the plateau. The only fastest one was, Wayne Gretzky had reached 600 goals by his 575th NHL game. As we mentioned yesterday, the White Sox defeated the Astros in that. Well, it actually went into the next morning, which would have been this day in 2005, because it was the longest World Series game in history at that point, 5 hours and 41 minutes. The White Sox defeated the Astros 7-5. So, also that was the White Sox won their first World Series in 88 years there too. So, they defeated I remember watching that one in college. They defeated the Astros 4-0. That was the Roger Clemens and Andy Pettit Astros team going over there. Was Roy Oswalt on that team, on that pitching staff too? I think so.
Was he in that team or was he with the Phillies? But yeah, I do seem to recall him looking up the 2005
Yeah,
Astros.
because that was Bagwell and Biggio. Which I was rooting for the Astros that year. Even though I gotta turn that volume down. Holy crap! I was a White Sox fan as a very youngster because of the Big Hurt. But
yes,
I wasn't
Oswald, Pettit, and Clemens were on that team.
okay. But I wasn't a big Ozzie Guillen fan, and he was the manager of that team. The very animated Ozzie Guillen.
Yeah,
at that point.
he was. Gosh, I kind of miss him now as a manager. I mean, I know he had some moments, but boy, was he fun.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't just like, here's vanilla person you've never heard of is now managing this team. He really stood out.
Yeah. So, I remember watching that though, because I lived in an apartment in college where the neighbors down below me, for whatever reason, at night and in the middle of the night, they were doing something. They were loud and all that. So I always had to have the TV up to sleep, and a lot of those were those games.
Mm-hmm.
Really wish the World Series would have lasted longer, so I could have had something better on TV in the middle of the night. So, but good old college days back in the day. So
yeah,
that's all I got for some sports nuggets for this morning. So let's do a little catch up on the NHL. I was kind of talking about it in the first hour. My Kraken are at 500 right now. Don't look back, baby. We're gonna be one of those teams that squeaks into the postseason, Lucas. But the Wild 3-2, or 2-3.
It's taken them a little bit to right the ship. They started pretty poorly.
Yeah, 2-3.
Yeah, well, goaltending wise, they were giving up a ridiculous amount of goals.
Mm-hmm.
It was to the point where letting Cam Talbot go, or not letting him go, trading him, and going with Marc-Andre Fleury was looking like a disaster. Well, the other thing is, of course, we got plenty more games to go. Early season troubles usually aren't a problem unless you're the Lakers and you're winless. Then it's just clicks on ESPN.com. But other than that, no, don't worry about that too much if you can right your ship. And they've started to do that. Granted, it was Montreal. Montreal's a weak team. But that's the biggest story of the year thus far, is that their goaltending has stabilized. That's probably going to be their biggest target if it falls back. That's going to be their biggest target eventually. That was part of my interview with Anthony Lepanto, is that if they're going to go in any direction by March, and again, that's a long time from now, but when the trade deadline comes, it would be goaltending, which that's what they did last year, getting Marc-Andre Fleury. So Thankfully, seems to be a little bit better, but there's still not enough of a sample size to really know. I mean, the Avalanche aren't off to the greatest start this season, and I was reading the Greg Wyshynski overreaction column at ESPN Plus, and he's like, yeah, don't freak out about that. It's essentially the gist of what he said. Like, this is not that the Avalanche aren't going to back-to-back. They could. Just got too much time to go.
Mm-hmm.
But
So-
hey, like again, you're cracking.
3-3, baby.
Uh-huh.
Don't look now, man.
On
Watch
the
out for
way to an 8th
Kraken.
seed. Woo. Which, now, that shouldn't make it sound like that's nothing, because we've seen 8th seed do a whole lot in the NHL in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know we're only a couple weeks in, but as we're kind of through Boston's off to a fantastic start in the Atlantic Division, the Eastern Conference. They're sitting there at 6-1. Florida and Ottawa and Buffalo all at 4-2, and then you've got Detroit, who's they're 3-1, and is it 3-1-2? No. Then in the Metropolis, I can never say that.
Metropolitan.
Thank you. I was watching a show the other day where they're talking about the Metro Police, and I can't say that word. I cannot say that for whatever reason. I was watching an Unsolved Mysteries thing.
Oh, you would have been screwed if you were doing a talk show back in the 60s and 70s with Metropolitan Stadium.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I would just call
The
it
Packers
the
are going to play at, well, you would have said the Met.
Yeah.
Met Stadium is
Yeah.
what we called it.
I don't know why, but there's like those few words you can never say. Metro is on that one. That's I'm avoiding saying it.
that word.
That word. But Carolina 4-1, Pittsburgh 4-2, Philly 4-2. And there, then in the Western Conference, your favorite team, the Dallas Stars, 4-2 with the Colorado Avalanche and the Chicago Blackhawks, 4-2 because the Blues, the Blues are right there too, 3-1. They just only played 4 games so far this year.
I like the Bucks. Yeah, I was thinking I was planning what we're for, top for this morning. Last night, I'm like, are the Bucks still playing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happened?
Yeah, they've had a nice little break.
Wait, seriously, when was? I mean,
Saturday was their last.
Okay,
game.
that's because I get the notifications. I'm like, I know when they're playing, but it just seems like forever since they last played a game.
Mm-hmm. Golden Knights off to a good start, 6-2. Calgary 5-1, and then Mike Kraken sitting there at 3-3, baby. So, all right. Before we talk some Bucks and that sort of thing. So I mentioned Unsolved Mysteries. Has your wife watched it yet? 3 new episodes dropped yesterday.
I don't think so.
I will say
she knew about it, but
Okay.
I don't think she's gotten to it yet.
So 3 new episodes dropped yesterday, 3 more next week. But so I binged them all yesterday.
Okay.
Then 3 new ones. The last one that dropped yesterday, there is an Eau Claire mention.
Wow.
There's an Eau Claire reference in there.
Wow.
So I don't know if you want me to go in a little bit more detail.
I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna be watching. Not that I just don't know if because usually she'll just watch it like when she's going to bed or something like that. And I like,
There's an Eau Claire reference. It's about let's just say water deaths.
Water deaths.
Yeah, remember the whole early 2000s?
Yes. Well, especially in is lacrosse mentioned?
No, Eau Claire is.
Well, I will say, okay,
because it focuses on one case in Minnesota, but they try to make a connection to Eau Claire. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
So
okay, I kind of see where they're going with this. Well, the lacrosse thing is that that makes more sense
because
People
it
get
was a
drunk
case
in the downtown. They just
yeah.
walk to the river and they drown.
It was a case in St. John's University, and they talk about 2 more cases, one in Minnesota, and they talk about Eau Claire being another one. So, that's all. I don't want to ruin it to anybody, but yeah, I was sitting there watching. I'm like, oh, what? So I saw the map. They had like Eau Claire. I'm like, why they got Eau Claire? And then they started talking about it a little bit. I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
We made Unsolved Mysteries.
Got me Googling a bunch of stuff, though. I'll tell you that afterwards. So, oh yeah.
Unsolved Mysteries will be a rabbit hole for you.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh boy.
It's been okay. I got 3 more coming up next week. So, but.
Well, that's.
And see, I wasn't around here. I was in high school, but I wasn't in Eau Claire at that time. So you probably would know a whole lot more about it. Early 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I do recall there being like a mysterious, like, well, how did they disappear into the river sort of thing? So that was a story. And you're right, about 20 years ago.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Just to give you a little bit.
Well,
maybe kind of tune in to just that episode.
I think I will.
So,
I think I'll make sure to. Yeah, I do want to see that.
Okay, so I know a couple of you have been asking about our 105.1 signal. Just to give you a heads up, we were struck by lightning a couple days ago. So we're on like reduced power right now. So if you're like, What the heck? That's why it's reduced power until they get it fixed. So just giving you a little heads up there. That's why, some of you was like, I can't hear you, or it's all static. Well,
Yes,
we got hit by lightning in October.
I know. We're still dealing with storms in October.
That was Monday night. Yeah, Monday night, late Monday night. So,
Huh.
and I don't want to get into the whole, there's like FCC stuff, like, antenna using this. I'm not going to go down that wormhole with anybody.
No.
It's
way more
complicated.
it just
Complicated.
is. Right. There are rules about how you can and cannot broadcast all that sort of stuff.
Right. And that's why for a lot of people say, hey, make your signal bigger. There's rules to that. So we can't just like turn on a power or turn on a button and be like, hey, worldwide sort of thing. There's rules. So
yeah,
got to follow rules.
Well, I mean, right. We complain about rules all the time with sports. We got to follow the rules here.
Yep. All right. Let's take a quick break, and then let's talk some hoops. So the Bucks with a early good matchup against Brooklyn at home. So we'll kind of take a look at that. I know it's really early in the NBA season here, but we'll take a look at that and kind of the first impressions across the NBA. And yesterday we talked about the potential of Jay Crowder and the Bucks kind of maybe looking at acquiring one Jay Crowder. Yesterday we had that poll question. If you haven't had a chance to participate in it, you can let us know. If it had to be Jay Crowder or Grayson Allen, which one would you rather go with? And I'm not kidding. It was pretty much 50-50 yesterday between Grayson Allen and Jay Crowder. So if you didn't get a chance to send us your thoughts on that, well, you can do that again today. So we'll take a quick break, and then coming up, we'll chat some hoops before we get to a little showdown coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. if the playoffs started today in the NBA, Lucas, today your Milwaukee Bucks would be the number 1 seed in Eastern Conference,
As we predicted.
So it's coming to fruition. Portland would be the number 1 seed in the West. They're undefeated, 4-0. Talk about a good start for the Trailblazers over there.
That's a team that probably was going to be in position to tank later this season for Wembanyama, which again, this is why we shouldn't get too excited about early stuff, because it's not like the Trailblazers are on their way to the 1 seed in the West. They're not. I think they're having their 4-game winning streak at the beginning of the season.
The Washington Wizards off to a 3-1 start, and anybody's wondering about Johnny Davis. Well, he isn't getting anything right now because he hasn't been a part of the rotation. In fact, the Wizards, at least from yesterday, they were thinking about sending him down to the G League to get him more minutes while he's out of their rotation right now. So doesn't mean Johnny Davis is a bust or anything like that. Let's just not great to start off.
Some of the previews were saying that Johnny Davis was not looking good in preseason.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's not a bust yet, but if there is a highly touted player who may not translate to the NBA, I hate to say it, it might be Johnny Davis. But there's a lot of time to go. He's still a pretty young guy, and there's a lot of career to go.
The Lakers are 0 for 3 right now. They're looking for their first win with Darvin Ham, the former longtime Bucks assistant coach, as the new head man over there too. So,
a national nightmare.
Yep.
How do we solve this crisis?
It's the number one crisis in the world right now.
Every day there's another headline. What's Anthony Davis' take on this? What's LeBron's take on this? What's Russ's? But I get it. It's clicks. It's like a car accident. We're all drawn towards it. Even I am. We all are, because there's so much drama involved with that. Russ botching the 2-on-1, that sort of stuff. I mean, yeah. We pay attention to this, and I know it involves LeBron James, and he's one of the greatest players of all time, but it's still stupid.
It is dumb. It's stupid. So I'll get your feedback before we kind of deep dive into this. But Jay Crowder, Grayson Allen, who would you rather have? And we kind of broke it down. I mean, you look at career numbers and such. Grayson Allen is younger by a few years. I think it kind of boils down to: would you rather have a better defender in Grayson and Jay Crowder, or a little bit more consistency in the 3 with Grayson Allen?
I mean, you got a lot of great defense from Drew Holiday, and the Bucks are.
Would that take a little bit off of him maybe and help his offense?
It could, but you got Drew Holiday mainly to be a defensive player too. Strong suit, go with your best talent. The Bucks are probably most known for being a poor 3-point defending team. And they're not really a 3-point shooting team. They're not necessarily a terrible 3-point shooting team, though I can remember a fair number of really nightmarish brick nights from 3 in the playoffs. Not commonly, but every so often from the Bucks over the past 3 seasons or so. So that I think I would rather go Allen. Again, I don't think either one is that required.
Does it move the needle that much? I don't think it does.
Probably not.
Now, if you could get Jay Crowder without having to give up Grayson Allen, then I'm like, okay, yeah, let's bring on everybody here.
And again,
remember, the NBA's got those weird trade rules. So
right. I would not, in case anyone is thinking, yeah, well, we saw Grayson Allen in the playoffs. Well, he was also injured. Let's keep remembering that. We put that out till afterwards, like, oh, well, that explains a lot. I think Grayson Allen can be better in the playoffs. I would not use 1 year as the example, and just because we're all primed to think Grayson Allen is the Darth Vader of basketball until the game to the Bucks, I don't think we as Bucks followers and Bucks fans should then think, well, he's going to be bad because. No, that's not fair. So I think if you look at it more neutrally, it is kind of a toss-up. But if I had to choose, even though Crowder's also comes from a winning pedigree, Suns, I think I would rather have Allen's traits Allen's assets than Crowder's. But again, I'm not going to be bummed out one way or the other if there is an acquisition or not.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a wash.
Yeah,
this
is level of getting Drew Holiday in the offseason.
Right.
Neither one is.
I'd agree with that. So I'd like both of them. I want to be greedy. So.
I might lean Crowder because the Suns did get to the NBA Finals and played the Bucks, but I mean, he's got a further track record. On the other hand, Crowder has been a little more vocal about wanting out. Do I necessarily want
come
that
back home? He's a Marquette kid.
I know,
so,
but so he's probably not going to complain with the Bucks. But I'm always wary of players who start openly complaining. Always, just as a rule. I'm not a fan of that, especially if you have a high chemistry, low drama team. The Bucks are that kind of team where be careful how you upset that.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want like a Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley with the Timberwolves kind of made sense. Patrick Beverley would not make sense with Bucks meshing. Crowder's not Patrick Beverley, but that's another tipping point towards Grayson Allen. And again, it's a tipping point. It's not, again, Crowder's not like a problem player, but I don't necessarily like guys who are like, yeah, I just kind of want out. What? Really? Okay.
Yeah. So tonight's game against Brooklyn, it's obviously, key factor in this thing is trying to slow down Ben Simmons. I'm being sarcastic here for anybody who doesn't know. But no, it's an early season matchup, but it's a good early season matchup. You got KD averaging 32 points so far this year, doing his thing. Giannis doing 32.5. Bucks are 4-point favorites right now in this game in Milwaukee. I don't want anybody to freak out, and I hope nobody's really freaking out about, this game. You're like, oh, must-win game, against Brooklyn. Yeah, let's do it. Come on. But, it's a good early test. So
it is. And, I mean, again, I keep wanting to test my theory of how well can the Nets actually play with each other. I mean, now the question is how easily triggered is Ben Simmons to
I feel like Drew Holiday is going to be like in his face all night and like frustrate the crap out of him.
Well, that's the thing. Like you saw that happen with John. John's like, yeah. So, well, okay. It's not, I don't want to say like the book's out because the book's been out for a while, but all right. So Drew Holiday is going to do the same thing. Well, it's up to Ben Simmons to not snap back on the court. You gotta tough your way through that. The defense is going to be a struggle to get through and get your baskets. And this is a guy as infamously seen in that one play in playoffs, tends not to take it right to the house.
So, like matchup wise, do you put, because technically Ben Simmons, if you look at, depth charts, he's listed as the power forward and not the point guard. But so do you put Giannis on Ben Simmons to really frustrate him? Do you put Giannis on KD? Assuming that Drew's going to be on like Kyrie.
Yeah, and it worked well a couple years ago. It would work well in any given game. I think Giannis would destroy Ben Simmons, but that opens up Kevin Durant.
I think you start Bobby Portis. I think you start Bobby Portis in this game. You put Bobby Portis on Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
That's the thing. From a basketball standpoint, Simmons, because we're getting into tread lightly territory. Simmons seems like the kind of person, based on especially what we've seen on the court. I mainly want to refer to that. Simmons seems like the kind of person on the court that can be easily thrown off his game. So a guy like a Bobby Portis, a guy like a Drew Holiday, can do that fairly easily and make it a two-person game for the Nets, make it down to Irving and Durant. So you don't need to have Giannis there. You can have Portis. You can have, Holiday's your top defender, obviously, so you don't want to, quote-unquote, waste him, but you might as well do that. Simmons is plenty talented enough. You don't want Simmons to fully take advantage of any situation. So I would say go with that idea of like Bobby Portis. And again, that's just strategy. You know how the player reacts. Some players react poorly. Some players are just like your Tim Duncans of the world, where it's like you're completely unfazed, or your Giannis is like, oh, just go out there, they just do their thing, and you can't stop them. Nothing's going to make them like, oh gosh, I can't play. That's just a straight up assessment of how you perform on a basketball court.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So, before we kind of move on here, your assessment on your Timberwolves so far?
It's not the greatest. I mean, losing to San Antonio, and San Antonio sure seemed like another tankathon team.
Mm-hmm.
But no, not wonderful. But it's through 10 games. I'm really not paying much attention to any particular team's performance, short of like if the Suns started 0-10. Okay, now I'm paying attention to that. Even a 10-game winning streak by a poor team, I'm not paying as much attention to compared to like a 0-10 streak from a really good team. So it's not ideal. The Jazz loss wasn't great, but then the Jazz have looked actually okay. Like they got some talented players on Tim. I think the presumption was where the Jazz were going to go like 5-77 this season. They're not that bad. I got rid of their two really good players. They're not that bad though. Mm-hmm. Like they could be a borderline playoff team. Could be, probably not, but they could be. Rudy Gobert has looked really good. I want to see the playoffs. I reserve judgment till really May. I want to wait till even past the first round. I want to see how far.
Got to get to the playoffs first.
Right? Yeah, I know. They'll get there. There's a lot of time to go, and they'll.
Lakers going to make that run, man. You better be careful. Don't fall too far behind.
They're going to get like a 1-game winning streak at some point.
At some point,
yeah, maybe.
Never know. Never know.
But yeah, I'm not worried about. I'm slightly concerned, but I'm not like worried about the Timberwolves. There's too much talent there for them to fall apart.
Would you say in the very early first week? Yeah, I mean, really, it's the first week of the NBA season. You know, early impressions, early overreactions. Portland and Washington.
Yeah, just because I mean, again, Washington. There's another tank team potentially. I mean, Portland has beat the Suns and the Nuggets. I'm not counting the Lakers as a good win. I'm sorry, they're not at that point, or the Kings. But I mean, they're 4-0, and they've got a couple of good wins right now against teams that have talked about potential finals appearance teams. Nuggets a hot pick. Suns still good, a talented team there. They got the Heat coming up tonight, so that'll be a good test for this. All feels like the first week or two of the NFL season. There's not that much preseason in basketball. I mean, there's some, but not that much. And I think everyone's still kind of shaking themselves out and figuring out what's to come and how they're really going to perform.
Mm-hmm.
But there were very few scenarios that put the Trailblazers and the Wizards in the playoff picture in their respective conferences. So that, again, cool that they're doing that. I actually think there's probably a good number of their fans that are like, no, stop, don't win. We want Wemby. You're going to see that this season. The whole tanking issue with Wembanyama.
Yeah. If you don't know who that is, Google it. He's kind of in the last few weeks really been in the news.
The Victor Wembanyama moment when he was up against Scoot in that one game, Scoot Henderson, who would be like the hands down number if it weren't for Victor Wembanyama. Gosh, when that happened 3 weeks ago, like that like a seminal moment in terms of NBA prospects. Of suddenly everybody was like, whoa. And I'd heard of Wembanyama before and looked up a little bit of his stuff and like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be good. I knew he was probably going to be the number one pick, and then that game happened. Wow. I mean, if the Bucks somehow, some way managed to acquire some team's number one pick or first round pick, and then that team somehow ended up in the lottery and the Bucks were number one and got Victor Wembanyama. Oh, that's the thing. Like, it's the point. I mean, insert your favorite team. You want Victor Wembanyama on your team.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that. Well, how will he perform? Well, you never know entirely. But there's a reason why Adam Silver actually brought up relegation. Like, I can't believe there actually have been discussions of that. And
No,
and
I mean,
he said-
how do you relegate an NBA team?
right. But so
You know,
the
go down to the
Wisconsin-
G League or something?
the Wisconsin Herd would take over for the Portland Trailblazers? Really?
Come on.
They're going to be playing NBA games in Oshkosh?
I love you, Adam Silver, but relegation? How? Okay, that's fun to think about and fun to banter about,
Yeah.
but how in the heck is that even possible?
No, that's the problem with our
NFL, hey, let's relegate to the XFL then.
Yeah, you like you can even do that. You don't even have enough teams. Major League Baseball is probably the one where you're best equipped to do that. And even then, I mean, okay, trade like.
Let's have some fun here.
Well, I know.
Can we relegate, teams that purposely just don't try to spend on players and relegate them to AAA and then move up some AAA teams or something?
Well, that's the thing. It would be that you have to be at the bottom. But again, this is where relegation.
But then that gets weird because, you got your prospects on, a AAA team and then they're actually on a major league team. It's weird. It wouldn't work.
Well,
but,
the problem with relegation, not with relegation, I can tell you as a Premier League fan, so
anybody who doesn't know, where do they go if they get relegated out of the Premier League?
You go to what's called the football championship. That's essentially the second tier of English football. There are a bunch of tiers, and you can move from like fifth, sixth tier conceivably. You can stair step every year all the way up. So you can go from playing in front of basically being like the Wisconsin Herd and conceivably make your way all the way up to being the Milwaukee Bucks. You could conceivably do that. Think of it more like college, where you go from Division III to Division II. You can stair step your way all the way up, and next thing you know, you are a top level Division I team. So American pro sports isn't the best analogy for that, but that's what happens. So the bottom three in the Premier League get ousted, and the top three for the football championship go up. They get promoted. And the same at the bottom of the football championship. Those three get down to what's the football league, I think is the next one below that. And the next three go up, et cetera, et cetera. It happens every year. It's happened for decades. I can tell you as an Aston Villa fan, and of course you probably heard, you just following sports like you do, but in case anyone listening hasn't heard, they just fired their manager, who was going to be like one of the best managers they ever had, and they fired him after a year because they were like one spot out of the relegation zone, and Aston Villa wasn't supposed to be anywhere close to that this year. So they bring in a guy who's got a better track record, and now they should be fine. But that weighs on you a lot. If you're in like fourth to last place, you're like, oh my gosh, we're going to be out. That doesn't happen in American pro sports. So like this year, Cincinnati, Oakland, and Washington were Pittsburgh and Cincinnati tied for third worst. They would be relegated, and there'd be like a tiebreaker. So if it were like, I don't know, I'm just looking at detailed standings from Baseball Reference. So if it were like total number of, or like run differential or something, then like Pittsburgh, Oakland, Washington would all be relegated to AAA baseball. And then the top three teams in AAA baseball, and I'm not even going to bother to look at the standings because, again, that gets weird with players going up and back and forth. Again, that's why the system would have to be way rejiggered. But you'd have like maybe the Rochester Red Wings and the Nashville Sounds and the Reno Aces. All were like the top three teams in AAA baseball, and they'd all play pro baseball. They'd be major league teams for next year. That's how it would work.
Okay.
That's where it gets weird, because can you imagine those minor league teams are suddenly a major league level?
Mm-hmm. Are you so this Milwaukee soccer team that we got coming? Now that's not MLS.
No, it isn't. It's is
it a level right below it?
I got to double check because I remember reading about it going, oh, okay, well, that's nice.
Now I know Seaton from the Dan Patrick Show, he tweeted out that it was the best league in the U.S.
USL, the United Soccer League. See where they are formally in divisions. I know MLS. It's Division II, so they're like, yeah, they're right below MLS.
Okay,
in effect. So if let's say MLS had relegation and promotion, or really I should say if America had relegation and promotion, if like the overall CONCACAF, the North American Football Union, decided to do that here in the United States and Canada, if you can count Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver because they're part of MLS, then the top three teams in USL would move up to MLS and vice versa. But MLS doesn't do that. They're like all the other pro sports leagues when you're in.
Okay.
I mean, it would be more fascinating and more intriguing, and there'd be a lot more attention paid if there were relegation involved. But that's just not how the American pro model works. And I think that's because overseas you got like these club basically a team. We've talked about this before with Owen. It's like almost community club, not ownership, but that's kind of the structure of the team. It comes from each own community, even if it gets to the point where like the Glazers and the Fenway Group are owning them. Whereas in America, you've got them always owned by a business guy. That it's like, okay, you're admitting us into this club and you're part of the club. Think of like the NFL owner. So you wouldn't be kicked out of the club because your team sucked. Simple as that.
All right, let's take a quick break here, and then let's do some stock reports to finish up the second hour, so we can hit up Showdown right away in the 8 o'clock hour. So we'll do that quick break, and then it's time for stock reports. Those are due. You can play along with us by hitting us up with a text, tweet, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I don't care. Send it on over. We'll be back after these few words. Reminder, don't forget to subscribe to the Man Cave podcast brought to you by our fantastic friends at Hy-Vee and Toyson Ford, because if you want a quick, or you want to be the first, I should say, first to know our big life-changing announcement that we'll announce on the radio on Friday. But if you want to know ahead of time, you guys subscribe to the Man Cave podcast or Green and Gold Chalk Talk newsletter. That's available on sportstalk1051.com. Life-altering announcement. So if you want to be the first, you got to subscribe. Yes, I'm teasing you a little bit, but hey, it's a big announcement. So there you go. Make sure you do that. Yeah, huge, Lucas.
Oh my gosh.
Huge.
Like, are our lives going to change because of your life changing?
It's all of our lives changing. So
I mean, all our lives change literally every millisecond.
Don't be so literal. Come on. Huge announcement. Big. Okay? That's all I got. Big. I can't give it away anymore.
Streaming in Belize.
That would be cool. Well, technically we stream everywhere, don't we?
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
But we're getting a translator in Belize.
Yeah.
Walk around with your transistor
we're
radio.
going to have Pitbull doing the intros now for us. Yeah, worldwide. So.
Mr. Worldwide.
Mm-hmm. All right, before we close up this second hour and get to a little showdown, let's do some stock reports. All right, Lucas, I'll give you the honors. Whose stock is going down, in your opinion? We'll start with the downs today.
Future Hall of Famer Romeo Dobbs. August seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
It does.
I back to the whole he's young, and he is. He's young. Got a lot of time to go, and this season is I think it's more the climate around the team right now. But try to catch.
Did we just have too much expectations for a young, inexperienced team?
Yeah, I think there's
not to say that the goal should be any different of a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, but did we have too high? Did we cloud our judgment a little bit?
A little bit. I mean,
put too much faith.
Okay, and I can't. I think it was a baseball analyst who was talking about. You go to every spring training, going, wow, this team's great. Well, there's 30 teams that can't all be great, and then you find out which ones really are and which ones aren't once they start playing the games. I think you could probably go to every single NFL training camp and think, this is it. This is the year they're going to win the Super Bowl, including the Houston Texans. Then it doesn't turn out that way. So I think to a degree, there was a bit of that when assessing or predicting the Packer defense. Then again, the Packer defense has been, the Packer defense has been, it's okay up until this, and that suddenly now it's not like that. I didn't see that coming. Was that, this is a rhetorical question, was that something that was assessed wrong? Like everything sure looked like it was going to be good, and then once they got out on the field, like they forgot what they were doing? Or was that optimism that just ended up not being warranted? I think there was a presumption that, well, if Aaron Rodgers is around, which it used to be the case where we always said if Aaron Rodgers is on this team, they're like a 10, well, now maybe 11-win team with 17 games. He may not be that kind of quarterback anymore that he automatically gets you to that. You'd still rather have Aaron Rodgers than most quarterbacks in the league, but that's not a guarantee to get to double-digit victories. And so I think that's probably part of it. And so the climate goes up around every other player on the team and figure, Dobbs will just insert himself right in there. Aaron Rodgers will figure it out. No, I mean.
So from what I'm hearing, not to interrupt you or anything, but from what I'm hearing, you are also in disagreement with the loud crowd. I won't say majority, but the loud crowd that say bench Aaron and go to Jordan Love. Trade Aaron Rodgers.
Wow, that would be an overreaction. I mean, I guess if you want to start the new era.
Well, you're going to have to wait a few years because of the cap hit that you would get from
also that
Aaron Rodgers. So.
But if you're that determined to move forward, I guess that's where you go. But pretty sure Brian Gutekunst would have done that during the offseason if that's really the route he would have wanted to go. And yeah, I know the Packers have recent experience with making a dramatic midseason change, but coach is easier to transition than your starting quarterback position. So No, this Dobbs is learning. Watson's he's learning when he's physically able to learn. It's not good that I think 2 out of 3 weeks or 2 weeks in a row, 2 out of 3 weeks now, my trending down is someone who's one of the 4 available wide receivers this weekend. Amari Rogers, Romeo Dobbs, and loved all of the Romeo Dobbs is, Amari Rogers still getting punts was kind of the reaction over the weekend. Again, I'm not giving up on Romeo Dobbs. I think more of this is stuff we're seeing early in the career, and it's more exposed because the Packers don't have a higher quality set of receivers above him. If Allen Lazard were fully healthy, if Christian Watson were at all healthy, if Sammy Watkins were healthy, this is really more blaming injuries than anything, then I don't think you see as much on Romeo Dobbs, but he happens to be the healthy guy out there, and so he's learning on top. But he's trending downward at the moment. I think he can trend back upwards, though.
I've seen these kind of, and I know I got to hurry up here, but I've seen this kind of like now trend on the socials. And I'm not saying I buy this completely, but it maybe kind of puts a little things in perspective a little bit. But Aaron Rodgers is in top 10 in passing yards. He's in top 10 in passing touchdowns. He's not in top 10 in quarterback rating, although remember when quarterback ratings, it was really good if you're in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's at 94.9, and that's not top 10 right now. Although if you take out some of these, actually he might be in normal quarterbacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, actually he would be if you take out, because I'm not counting the Tyler Boyds or anything like, these receivers, Justin Jefferson, who's got a 118 because he threw a couple passes.
It should be noted very, very quickly. DVOA had a thing on Aaron Rodgers, and is he in his worst DVOA ever? And they point out, no, he's not, at least depending on which metric you look at, like offensive. Overall, through 7 games, yes, but offensively, no. He's had worse offenses at this point of the season. But they were able to, 2016, 2017 both went different directions. Mm-hmm. But this is not completely unprecedented territory. It's not great, but it's not like hands down the worst.
Yeah.
It isn't that bad. Could get there eventually, but right now, relative to other years, not quite.
Yeah, I would agree. So I think there might be a little overreaction to it all.
A little bit. But something,
sure.
Dobbs is not helping. That's part of it.
And I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers playing MVP level for crying out loud, but, it could be worse. It could be a whole lot worse.
Yes.
Whole lot worse. Could have Matt Ryan on your team for crying out loud. Getting benched over there with the Colts. Future Indianapolis Colts quarterback Aaron Rodgers. So, because the Colts,
that's totally happening now.
Okay, I'm gonna have to, because we got like less than a minute. So, stock down. For me, I mean the easy one is Green Bay at this point. You can do that, but yeah, I'll just stick with it just to keep it moving here. Keep her moving. Stock rising really quick.
Future, maybe first ballot Hall of Famer Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
I think he was probably getting into the Hall of Fame anyway. We needed to see him have like a major moment for his caliber of player or get to the World Series. Well, he did it all in one home run over the weekend. That might make him a first balloter. Mm-hmm. Seriously, that moment alone.
He's got that moment.
That, and it's not just moment. A lot of players have moments. The significance of it. That's what a player who's as good as Bryce Harper should be able to do. And now he's done it, and he got his team to the World Series. Well, I mean, they would have maybe gotten there. It sure helped.
Yep, that's a good one. That is definitely a good one. My stock riser, New York again. I'm going to stick with it. Jets and Giants just won't go away. They won't
go away.
And they keep doing it when they're not supposed to. So, well done, East Coast. Well done. Even, Buffalo we expected, but the Jets and Giants, I'm going with them again because you guys are doing it. And I'm proud of you. Yeah. I'm like a proud parent with the Jets right now. Well done.
Yay.
Way to go. Way to go. All right, showdown coming up after these quick words. Here we go. Final hour on this Making the Turn Wednesday. Appreciate you all tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in, whether it's online, radio dials, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the app, Google and Alexa home devices, bunch of different ways. So keep the conversation flowing. You can hit us up with some texts at that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Coming up here in just a few seconds, we're gonna kick off Showdown here, Lucas. And I'll tell you what, man, I think this might be a close one. The more I'm looking at this, it might come down to one category, I think.
Okay.
And I'm actually, you know what? Hold up. We got the intro. I keep forgetting. We got a Showdown intro now. So yeah, boom, get you jacked up. I'm going to start with the movies because I don't think it's even close between these 2 years.
It isn't.
It isn't. But we'll kind of go at it. So 1965, I think the big one, obviously, Sound of Music.
Yes.
Sound of Music on there.
Thunderball was that year. Dr. Zhivago was that year. Yeah.
And then 1980. Holy moly. So you got The Shining. You got The Fog. You've got Friday the 13th. You've got The Blue Lagoon. You've got Empire Strikes Back. You've got Luke's, one of his favorite movie, Airplane. The Blues Brothers.
Yes.
This movie was on, like, when I was a kid. There's a couple movies when I was a kid that was, like, on TNT and TBS all the time. Coal Miner's Daughter was one of them.
Yes.
The other one on here was Urban Cowboy with John Travolta.
American Gigolo was that year. Raging Bull was 1980.
Flash Gordon.
Caddyshack was 1980.
Yep. Popeye I watched all the time as a kid. I had that on VHS with Robin Williams.
Oh man,
I had that one. I was like, I was addicted to that one as a little kid.
Xanadu also came out in 1980, so that single-handedly might throw this to 1960. Kidding.
Superman 2
also
came out.
This is not just recency bias. These are. I'm sorry. These ones have.
You had to like this movie, Fame.
You know what? I don't think I've ever seen Fame. I remember seeing, I think, the TV series when I was a kid, because in the early 80s, it was on NBC. I don't think I've ever seen the movie, actually.
Okay.
Again, one of those quirks. Like, I know the songs from the, I just haven't seen the movie.
So we're both going 1980, right?
Clearly,
I mean, this is clearly
down.
No offense, 1965, but I mean, come on now. That's
the films have lasted longer in popular culture, and not just because they're weird or quirky, though in some cases they are. Xanadu actually is the classic one of, like, it's so bad it's good. But there are a lot of, like, genuinely good movies that also lasted longer in popular culture.
Yep. I don't even think we mentioned The Elephant Man on there, Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, 80 easily. So that's why I wanted to get that one out of the way right away, because there's really not a whole lot to go back and forth on that one. Let's go sports then.
Okay.
So 1965. It's a little interesting because, 65, you got, so the Packers, the game, the championship game was actually pushed to January 2nd, 1966, because due to a Western Conference tiebreaker between Green Bay and Baltimore, which Green Bay won on December 26, 1965. So the NFL championship was actually played on January 2nd, 1966, where the Packers did beat the Browns at Lambeau Field.
And technically, by rule, that means that game doesn't count.
Correct.
But, however, the Colts game does, which was which one is the more memorable game? Because, like, the Browns game has, like, that classic Paul Horning, that scene.
The mud and all that. Yeah, everybody can kind of picture it.
But the Colts game had the dramatic comeback, and the Colts complaining that the game-tying field goal actually was wide, and it shouldn't have gone that way, so it should have been the Colts winning. I mean, still, there's a lot to like about that 65 Packers team. They're not one of the best, but they're not the best, I should say. But they were a really good team.
Yep. So I agree with you, though. It's that Packer Colts one is more memorable. I mean, a lot of stuff is pretty darn memorable with those Lombardi teams too. So the Crimson Tide, they lost the Texas Longhorns Texas Crimson Tide were still named AP and UPI national champions, I believe. So The AFL championship, if anybody's interested in that, the Buffalo Bills beat the San Diego Chargers 23-0.
Which does, because it was the year before the Super Bowl, it's kind of a what if.
Yep.
What if the Bills and Packers had played in a Super Bowl? And I mean, that is a title for the Bills. I know AFL, but that's as far as they could go. That I always count AFL titles as titles. That's what you could do with your league, and they, as far as they were concerned, hey, we're a pro league as well. So.
Baseball, the Dodgers defeated your Twinnies.
It was a good
4-3.
series.
Yep.
Sandy
4-3.
Koufax at like his peak powers at that point, but the Twins had an excellent team that year between Oliva and Killebrew, et cetera, et cetera. That was an overall good year for baseball in general. Unfortunately, the last year for the Braves in Milwaukee.
College basketball, UCLA beat Michigan. Excuse me. Boston defeated the Lakers in the NBA. I'm going to bring up golf here because Masters, Jack Nicklaus at that point shot a Masters record 17 under par to win by 9 strokes. Gary Player won the U.S. Open and becoming the third golfer in history to win all 4 professional golf tours. The Ryder Cup was also played that year. U.S. won 19.5 to 12.5. Jack Nicklaus was the PGA Money Tour leader at $140,000. I think last place gets that now too. But hockey, what you had trying to oh man, my thing just
Canadians
froze up.
did well.
Yeah, Stanley Cup.
They won
National Canadians beat the Blackhawks on there. So missing anything from 65?
Those are the big ones.
Okay. So 1980 then. 1980, the Super Bowl winner was the Steelers.
They won this. They won in January, and the following season, 80 eventually be won by the wild card, the first wild card Super Bowl champion, the Oakland Raiders. But yeah, the Steelers won over the Rams in January of 1980.
Yep. Alabama beat Arkansas
at the beginning of the year. Now that season, Georgia was on its way to its title, featuring potential future Senator Herschel Walker. I'm still wrapping my mind around that possibility. But that big SEC season overall, SEC year. Now, what was the notable Packer moment of 1980?
Ooh,
you should know this.
1980.
It was probably one of the biggest Packer moments of like almost a decade and a half. There wasn't much to write home about for the Packers in the 70s and up through the later 80s. But this was a pretty memorable moment.
So 1980, was that that wouldn't have been the field goal kick, was it?
Yep.
Was it the field goal kick?
Chester Marco.
Okay, yeah.
High on cocaine, running in the block kick for a touchdown. That was 1980.
Okay. Why was I thinking that was later? I was thinking that was later, but okay.
It was 1980.
Yeah, wow. How about that? That should just win it from there. Other stuff on here really quick. Baseball. Raleigh Fingers breaks Hoyt Wilhelm's major league record of 250 saves. That got demolished. The 80 World Series, Philadelphia Phillies ends 90 years of frustration by defeating the American League champion Kansas City Royals.
Was a moment for the Phillies. That was we can't conceive of just how long of a streak that was. That was a very big deal for the Phils. George Brett had his run for 400 that year. Brewers were really good. That was back in the day when you had to win your division. If there were playoffs like today, the Brewers would have been easily in the playoffs. I know different dynamics if you have different playoff possibilities, but the Brewers were really good in 1980. It's just there were not enough spots to get in. That was their problem. But it was a good year for the Brewers, setting up for 2 straight playoff years after that.
I should mention boxing in this year. Larry Holmes defeated Muhammad Ali by a knockout in round 11 to retain boxing's WBC World Heavyweight title and what would be Ali's last world title belt, 1980. We've got
NBA, Lakers.
Oh, yep, I skipped over that one for whatever. Yeah, they beat the 76ers.
Magic Johnson going off, getting all like crazy with Kareem, getting way too excited. All that's that was like his first game, but still but also that was that memorable Dr. J shot.
Yep.
The one we always see that happened in the 1980 NBA Finals. Also 1980. Well, there were the Olympics. Now, granted, the
Oh,
Summer
yeah.
Olympics didn't happen for the United States, but there was the Winter Olympics.
Yep.
It was kind of a memorable moment.
Something
that happened.
in there.
A little something.
Yep.
Involving miracles.
That's a pretty big one over there.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, they made a movie about it.
Yeah. Statues, still
Mhm.
talked about to this day. Maybe
Yeah.
the best Olympic moment in the history of the United States of America.
Yep.
You could make that argument probably pretty strongly.
You know
Yeah.
what? I thought this was going to be close, but
It's not.
no,
It's not.
it's 1980, right?
I mean, 80's winning 2 of them
Yep.
thus far.
So
65, yeah, I mean, it's already over.
I had
before
it in my
the time.
mind 65, I think, because I was just trying to be a little nostalgia a bit with like the Packers and all that sort of thing. But yeah, when you factor in the Olympics, it's not close.
No,
It's not close.
not even.
So, all right. Well, should we even hit up the music sort
I
of
mean-
thing on this? I mean, is it going to be a clean sweep?
It will be. I mean, and unfortunately, my computer apparently is like an Apple IIe Plus compared to yours being an Apple IIe. There were some really good albums that came out in 1980. Back in Black from AC/DC, The River from Bruce Springsteen. Like pretty much, if Bruce Springsteen released an album, you had a good year. Prince's Dirty Mind, Talking Heads, Remain in Light, Scary Monsters, and Supergroups from Bowie. And that's not even one of his. That's a really good album. That's not even one of his greatest, but that's saying more about Bowie than anything. Double Fantasy, John Lennon, Yoko Ono came out that year. Emotional Rescue from the Stones. Permanent Waves from Rush, the top album. Peter Gabriel's third self-titled. A lot of good albums. 1965 had Rubber Soul. That's saying a lot. John Coltrane's Love Supreme. There actually weren't that many great albums that came out that year, but also understand in 1965, the concept of an album was still evolving from just, hey, here's a bunch of singles and thrown together for your convenience compared to a work of art. So like 65 and earlier, it's not really fair to compare albums, but songs you had like I Can't Help Myself, I Can't Get No Satisfaction was that year. You've Lost That Love and Feeling was that year. My Girl from the Temptations.
Ooh, that's a
I
good
Got
one.
You, Babe
Oh,
was that year. Stop in the Name of Love.
oh,
Unchained Melody.
hey now.
Wooly Bully was that year.
Okay, so if you had to compare
Yesterday from the Beatles.
let me ask. So, what if I put it this way? 80s albums, 65 songs. If we did it that way,
I do 65
okay.
songs over the 1980 albums, and even looking at like the 1980 songs that were really big. And there was, I mean, Call Me was out that year. Another one, Bites the Dust, was 1980. Upside Down was 1980. There were a lot of really good ones.
Can't Get No Satisfaction was in 65, right?
Uh-huh.
Rolling Stones.
Uh-huh.
Did you
And-
say that already? Maybe you
Yeah.
did. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag was 65. Like the song California Girls was
Ooh, yeah,
65.
Yeah, I'm giving this a 65.
And I'm just giving like the ones that like everybody knows. And there's like a whole nother tier below that. It's Not Unusual came out in 65.
Come on, I want
Dun,
Candy,
dun,
1965.
Dun, dun, dun,
Right?
dun. It came out in 65. The Bow Wow Wow cover is the one that most people know, but
Oh, okay.
it originally came out 1965. Nowhere to Run, Martha and the Vandellas, Love Potion number 9. I mean, where do I stop? Like it's the tracks of my tears. I mean, come on.
So to be fair, I think we need to do the songs of 65 compared to maybe albums or songs of 80.
Yeah, it's a bit of a more fair comparison, but 65 is going to win on the music.
Okay.
But 80 is going to win on the movies, and 80 is going to win on the sports, so 1980 advances.
So 1980 advances. 65 can't do what 73 did last week, becoming the first older year to move on.
Yeah.
So we had 1978 to kind of recap everything that we've done. 1978 versus 1985. 1985 defeated 1978. 1994 defeated 1966. 1990 defeated 1987. 1992 defeated 1970. 1991 defeated 1982. Last week, 1973 defeated 2009. And now we have just crowned 1980 as the winner over 1965. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got a bunch more to go here before we move on with this bracket.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot.
Well, darn. Okay. Well, yeah, 80. I thought it was going to be a little bit closer on first blush, but not really.
Yeah, You would think
If
so
I
too.
take if we take the Olympics out of 1980, does it become closer?
It does.
Yeah.
I
I know we can't, but
because movies was overwhelmingly 80 and 65 was not quite as overwhelmingly, but solidly music. So I think sports still would have gone 1980. There's a lot of good that happened in 65, but I think there were still more moments from 1980. So I would have gone that, I think.
yeah, I'd agree. So,
Mhm.
all right, we need to get some of these more older years and some of these 2000s into it. 90s.
Somehow
almost tapped out.
2003 is going to win this thing.
Oh, why was
Yeah! Little
2003.
John is going to end up winning this.
2003, I was a junior in high school. Yeah, well, started off, 2003, the end senior, graduating 04.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
yeah, junior, senior, transition year sort of thing. So, better not be
Homecoming.
2003.
Yeah.
Better
Junior
not.
prom.
Oh gosh, yeah, that too. So, all right, tell you what, there you go. We got another one moved on. So we'll take a quick break. We'll hit up again what Aaron Rodgers had to say yesterday. Comments that really upset a lot of people on Packers Twitter. It was crazy. It was a little cray cray.
So in other words, it was a day.
It was another day in Packers Twitter yesterday because quarterback speaks and people take it one way or take it the other way. Sort of thing. So I know I played the clips in the first hour, so we'll kind of revisit that in case you missed it, in case you missed any of the talking points from his appearance on good old Pat McAfee's show yesterday. We'll just kind of hit up maybe the ones that really sparked the ire of many Packers fans. So we'll take that break, and then coming up, we'll talk a little football as well. Packers will actually be back at practice, but who's going to practice based off who's hurt right now?
All right, so what prompted all of this?
Well, I mean, Aaron really kind of, opens up with his buddy Pat, right? So, I believe this is one of them that got the fire of a lot of Packers fans. Here we
Okay.
go.
Hey, quick pivot back to the Washington game. What exactly do you think? What were they doing defensively? I give their defense credit, honestly. Like, what were they doing, I guess, to give you guys a tough time for your offense?
Nothing.
Then what was it?
People are going to be so mad with your answer. So mad about it.
Look, I mean, they didn't have to do anything. They rushed 4 guys. They played cover 4. They sprinkled a couple weak inserts and a couple man coverages, and that was it.
So what do you think it is?
They got good players, but as far as like schematically, what did they do? Just lined up and played.
So what do you think it is? Why do you think there is some struggles? Growing pains was obviously a conversation early. There was a report that you guys were going to do something with your offensive line, and then whenever last minute came out that Bakhtiari woke up on Saturday and his knee didn't feel good, they kind of went away from that. It felt like you could just never really get anything going. Aaron Jones got in the end zone twice. Okay, hey, here we go. Here we go. Aaron Jones getting back into it, but it never really felt like you guys were able to do anything. Is it just you think it was them making plays, you guys not execute? What do you think it is?
Well, I mean, they have a nice front. They have a lot of first rounders in that front. They got a good, good linebackers, good on the back end. But we had so many just mental errors and mistakes. It's not the kind of football we're used to playing over the years. There have definitely been games, 4 or 5 seasons where we average, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 at the most, kind of mental errors or missed assignments per week. And some weeks you have like 4, 2 sometimes. This week, it's this season a lot more than that every single week. It's double digits every single week. It's even on a game we had like 50 plays or something. It wasn't a ton of plays. Like they had 37 minutes of time possession. A lot of mistakes.
So there's that one where he said Washington did nothing, Luke, nothing to do that. Here's another clip from yesterday's little chat with Pat McAfee. Again, audio courtesy from the Pat McAfee Show.
I think when the players really take over, then you're going to see the possibility of us making a run. So when the players really take over, I'm not talking about usurping power from coaches. I'm talking about we take over, we take ownership of what we're putting on the field. Now, some of that might be in the plan. So some of that might be, hey, I really want to do this, offense, defense, teams, whatever it might be. But the other part is taking ownership of your daily habits and your routines. Just because we're a young team, we can't just write that off as, oh, they're figuring it out. The rookies are figuring this thing out, and they're going to go through their rookie wall and blah, blah.
I have to mute that there for a second.
On the same page to make the plays that are possible. We need them Monday to Saturday to put in the time to be ready to play Sunday, because there's too many times in a game where there's simple things that just are not being accomplished.
How close are you? We hear people talk about like different players about their team. Oh, we're really close, even though they may be losing some games. Okay, we're close. We're almost there. We just got to figure it out. Do you feel like you guys are close and it's just one player here or there?
It's definitely not just one play here or there. Like I said, it's 20% of the time. If we have 50 plays and we have 10 mental missed assignments or mental errors, that's 20% of the time. So that's way too high. In the past, we're looking more like at less than 10%. So it gives us a really good chance to be successful. 20%, that's too high. That's one play a series where you're really making it tough on yourself. So we got to fix that. And whatever that is, I think, guys who are making too many mistakes shouldn't be playing. We got to start cutting some reps. And maybe guys who aren't playing, give them a chance. So we're going to see. We made some changes, last week. We moved Josh over to right tackle. We moved John to right guard, Elton to left guard. So, we're doing some things. And there'll be more opportunities for other guys moving forward too, especially with our injury situation as we look at this week and see who's healthy.
All right, so that was the one that really got people upset. Cutting some
I
reps.
think it was fine for the most part up until right at the end. And the whole like guys that aren't playing should, and those who are playing, or you know what I mean. That was it.
Mm-hmm. Cutting some reps.
I mean, picture any other player saying that, and it's crisis mode.
No.
That should not. I'm sorry that there's a role, and that's not his role.
Mm-hmm. Now, TJ Lang, former player, former Packer player, former teammate of Aaron Rodgers, had seen that and posted on Twitter that maybe that should have been something kept in the locker room, sort of thing. And when I hear guys like TJ Lang who, one, are former players, but also played with Aaron Rodgers and understand, Aaron Rodgers and know Aaron Rodgers, that kind of means a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like, that he's got a little bit of an insight there, if you will. But at the same time, it's like, some people get upset when coaches and GMs and players don't speak the truth in media, right? Like they're just coach speak or GM speak. And then when you get a player that goes out there and says, "Oh, you can't say stuff like that," where's the line in that whole thing?
Right.
Where's that? Like, you can't have it both ways.
Uh-huh.
So part of me is like, yeah, maybe shouldn't have said that. But, at the same time, was he telling the truth?
I mean, that's the thing. You can say something that's completely accurate. Everybody agrees with it, but whose role is it to say that in public? And I guess it comes down to the question of, is there anything inherently wrong with that?
Yeah, I mean, is he wrong?
Is it illegal to do that? No, it's not. So then it's a matter of decorum. So is that fine to do that? I mean, we're not talking about like injuring somebody, and we're not talking about breaking an NFL rule. No, he's making a commentary on something. This is totally your opinion, not your, but anyone's opinion on how someone should address the performance of their team. And do you always have to couch it in generics of like, we have to do better? Well, great. We know that. How specific do you want to get? That's really the question here. And that's not that's why it's problematic for Aaron Rodgers. On the other hand, it's Aaron Rodgers. It's going on the Pat McAfee show. What do you expect him to do?
Right.
Like, we remember what happened last year on the Pat McAfee show.
Yeah. I was at a tree stand when that was going down, and my phone was going off, and I can't get internet, but I can get texts. Now I can get internet. I got a different plan and all that, but regardless. And then I got Peter King sending me a message. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
I know. Yeah. Like this is, I don't want to say it's nothing by comparison. I mean, in a football sense, it's relatively significant, but it's not to the point of like, he said what? Okay, well, if he's going back on the Pat McAfee show, I figure he's probably going to do something similar in a football context, and he did. So, shocker. I don't think this extends to Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are at odds. Maybe, but I think there's not a desire, but there is an instinct from fans and people following the NFL to presume that that's what's going on, especially because Aaron Rodgers has such a prominent personality. And I don't know that that's necessarily the case. For all I know, Matt LaFleur is good with this. I mean, if Matt LaFleur is good with it, and to a lesser extent, but a significant extent, if Brian Gutekunst is good with it and Mark Murphy's good with it, then what does it matter? Then it's okay. Honestly, he could go ahead and do that all day. But we're freaking out about it because we figure that's, like I said, I don't think that's the role of a quarterback. Do you think that's the role of a quarterback to do that?
I think it's kind of, the thing that was really popping out to me yesterday, just watching this, like I was in a meeting yesterday when he was on, so I didn't see it in live action. Then, I got a bunch of notifications on my phone again. I'm like, what the heck happened now? And I'm like scrolling through. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I didn't get a chance to listen or watch it. You're reading the cut ups, right? The headlines, the Twitter headlines or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, we're doing this. We're going down this path. And it's like, I almost got the sense that fans were like wanting accountability. And I'm like, is that really, I mean, really? I mean, is that your role as a fan though, for accountability? Do you think players really care about a fan's demand for accountability sort of thing. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, no, and we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, for crying out loud.
No.
We don't. We really don't.
Right.
And it's gotten to a point now. It's like, okay, hey, Packers Twitter, let's take a step back and take a deep breath and calm down here a little bit. For crying out loud, you had fans arguing with each other. You had fans arguing at people who cover the Packers for the fans, for crying out loud, and going after players. It's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Winning takes care of a lot of this stuff.
It does,
and there's not enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Yeah, like I just. You want to hear the other one that really pissed off fans from yesterday?
Yes, I do.
So the audio is a little bit quieter on this one, but you should still be able to hear it. So this was the other one that really upset. And again, I think it's different by listening and watching as opposed to reading what he said. So here we go. Oh, come on, load it. Why isn't that not working?
Results and everything kind of goes hand in hand. After the results are given, this particular game against the Commanders, you watch it, you judge everybody on every play, you judge yourself on every play. How do you go about watching a game like the Commanders to correct it for going forward? And what did you see out of yourself against the Commanders?
Yeah, judge everything. Yeah. Every play, my own performance, all of it. I mean, this was my highest graded game by Tom, which made people be maybe surprised to hear. But, we obviously didn't execute, a lot of drops, a couple missed throws. We're behind the sticks. We're 2nd and 20, 3rd and 25, 1st and 15s, way too many penalties, way too many drops, not enough rushing attempts because we were behind the sticks the whole time. Obviously, Aaron Jones, every time he touches it, is going to make a bunch of big plays, has a possibility. We just there were 3 or 4 plays where if we just do what we're supposed to do, those are the key plays. I tell them all the time. It could be the first play of the game, could be the last play of the game, any play in between. 1 play often, 2 plays, 3 plays at the most can determine the outcome of the game. And sometimes the simplest plays are just by outside release here. This happened, boom, boom, first down to, move on. We're getting points in this drive. Little things. It's the details. And
so I'll stop it there because the thing that I rated a lot of people was Tom Clements apparently graded him as that was his best game.
Oh.
So that pissed off a lot of Packers fans yesterday.
In a related story, now granted this is the whole season, but total QBR, which actually I'm impressed how that metric has kind of worked its way into the general evaluation of players. It was kind of mocked. It was like, the Trent Dilfer thing. Yeah. And initially, I was on ooh, is this a more simple way? Because quarterback rating is so tough to figure out. And then it got all weird at first. No, now it's kind of legit. To set this up, Pete Schrager was saying this on the Simmons pod because he's always on every Friday. And I think it was Schrager. And he was talking about how 40 and it was talking about how the poor performance of quarterbacks this year compared to other years. So you got to understand the entire NFL is not performing as well, but it's more top heavy and bottom heavy this year. If you're under 40 compared to above 50, especially above 60, definitely above 70. Those are kind of the markers. Aaron Rodgers has a 40.5 QBR. He is 26th in the league. Behind him are Justin Fields, Davis Mills, Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco, and
the elite Joe Flacco,
and Baker Mayfield's at a 15.3. Probably not playing again.
No.
Above Aaron Rodgers, Ryan Tannehill, James G, Kenny Pickett, the benched Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, Mitchell Trubisky at 48.6, Kyler Murray at a 49.1, and then it goes above 50 from there. Aaron Rodgers is, but based on the QBR metric, I mean, maybe by week, he's doing okay. And actually, all right, what did QBR say for this past week? He was 15th. He was a 48.9 out of 28 quarterbacks that played.
And honestly, was that the best one from his other weeks?
Let's see, I'd have to go week by week here, and I can tell you that. But he was a 48.9 there. In week 6, he was 18.5, 26 out of 27. Week 5, he was 53.5,
Okay.
16th against the Giants. Week 4, he was 44.5, 20th against the Patriots. Week 3,
Tampa.
he was 64.6, 12th. It was a
Okay.
good week for QBR overall. Week 2,
Chicago.
he was 60.5, 14th.
Okay.
And week 1, he was 31st, 11.9. That was that miserable loss to the Vikings.
So if we do the QBR ratings, he's about what, like the third or fourth best game that this Washington
Kind of, and
won?
that's really not saying.
Right. And that's the thing,
lot.
too. It's like, I'm sure Tom Clements has his own grading scale that, he's probably not using QBR.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, that might have been your best game according to Tom Clements, but really in a vacuum compared to others, is that a good game?
Right.
Yeah.
Do we know the Pro Football Focus grades?
He actually, well, we went through him yesterday. In terms of Packers offensive players, Aaron was top 5 on the Packers.
Okay.
But those grades, the top 5 offense were in the 60s compared to the top 5 defense for the Packers, and you had a couple 90s and majority were 70s.
Right. That's the thing. Like,
So,
I was kind of wary of mentioning the rankings when I was going through week by week because that's relative to everyone else. I mean, maybe all 32 quarterbacks, even the losing quarterbacks, could have really good games. And while you still have to rank them, I'm more interested in the actual QBR. And he had better QBR individual game ratings earlier in the season outside of week 1. Okay, week 1 also is pulling down the numbers. If you took that out, he's definitely higher because that's 11. That's part of it, and that's way down. But overall, he's having definitely a meh year.
Mhm.
Tom Brady, by the way, 53.2.
Mm-hmm.
It's ranked 14th. Your top 5 are Mahomes, Allen, Tagovailoa, Geno, and Lamar Jackson.
Okay. Yeah.
Daniel Jones at 6th.
And I think people were taking what he said as, and again, I don't know what's right or wrong. Everybody's got their own opinion, but I think people were taking it as he says, like, yeah, I'm not to blame here. I got a high grade sort of thing. I didn't get that. And he kind of laughed afterward and said it probably would surprise people. And he followed it up by saying, yeah, I missed a couple throws, and he's been saying that the last few weeks. I don't see where people kind of spun that, if you will, in the narrative of like, he's like, I'm not the problem here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't get that from listening to that.
I mean, it didn't stand out. Like, I know he was talking that up, but this is where we have to get into the dreaded intonation.
Yeah.
How was he referencing himself? Okay, fine. Yeah. Again, it's Aaron Rodgers going to be Rodgers. But do you not want Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback?
Well, some people want him benched, and Jordan Love start the Jordan Love era.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there is a case to be made for that, but again, I would think you'd want to make that decision during the offseason, not because you started 3 and 4.
I think it is funny though too, like for some that want to trade Aaron Rodgers because he's playing so bad, yet they expect a massive haul back.
I guess they're looking at what happened with Christian McCaffrey and presuming that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you can get that. Well, like, it's conceivable, but what team is going to do that?
Right. I mean,
seriously,
Giants were thrown out there, but I'm like, you think Giants are 6-1 right now?
They're not getting Daniel Jones is actually playing fairly well. Like, if I'm the Giants, I would not. I can't believe I'm saying this. If I'm the Giants right now. Going back to the third time this morning, referencing Bill Simmons, I think either in some way or another, if we're doing the trade value column and the Packers call up and say, we're offering you Aaron Rodgers for Daniel Jones, I think the Giants actually are like, yeah, probably not. Like, they discuss it a little bit. I think they would generally be better, but that's for right now. Long term, I think they actually might want to. I'm entering hot take territory here. I'm being kind of careful, but they might actually go, we'd rather have Daniel Jones as our quarterback.
No.
Can't believe it, but it's the way they're playing right now. Which other playoff team or borderline playoff team really needs Aaron Rodgers at this point? Not the Bills, not the Jets, maybe the Dolphins, actually. You could actually make a case for the Dolphins.
Well, Tua's light. You just went through the QBR thing. to his top 5.
He's top 5, but he didn't look that great on Sunday night. He didn't look terrible, but there were a lot of should have been interceptions in that game. Look, the Browns have already married themselves to Deshaun Watson. We know how that's going to go. The Ravens, no. Maybe the Colts, as we were kind of guffawing about, hey, there's your next rent-a-quarterback. Not the Titans wouldn't do that. None of the West teams are going to be doing that outside of assorted reasons. NFC, not the Cowboys, not the Giants, definitely not the Eagles, nothing in your own division, not the Rams, not the 49ers, not the Seahawks, and in the South, not the Buccaneers. The Saints actually kind of would make sense. Not the Falcons.
Saints are further behind than the Packers right now, but
Right.
their division is so bad.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right now, the Buccaneers are in first place. For all of the talk of the disaster that is this season, the Buccaneers also are in first place. Are we going to have a 6-11 division champion?
It's going to the NFC South is probably going to be what the NFC West was a few years ago when the Seahawks made it 7
It's
and 9,
just not good.
or what the Washington did just a couple of years ago.
And the Panthers also, they could take
I
Aaron
hope the
Rodgers, but
Panthers win the division now. I really want them to.
that would be so funny if they
That
did that.
Awesome. Gosh, that would be awesome.
And then they're like out of the running for, because they clearly want one of like Stroud or
Don't
Young
you
or
diss the MVP of the XFL, PJ Walker, sir.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Give him a shot.
I want Steve Wilkes to get more of a shot. Charlotte dude. Like that was not fair what happened in Arizona. I'm sorry.
For anybody that if you just want to know too, and I know people hate this, but you got to factor in like salary cap space, right?
Yes.
So Field Yates the other day released these salary cap numbers. Who has available salary cap right now ahead of the trade deadline? Your Vikings are in the worst shape, actually.
Not surprised.
They've got if you want to round it up, $1.4 million available. The Patriots are second to the last. So when you talk about Aaron going over there, they'd have to be really creative with that. So they're going to put that on the books. They've only got $1.9 million in cap space available. Remember the whole Titans, Aaron's going to go play in Nashville and Tennessee? $2.1 million available in cap space. In fact, Luke, the Giants are 26. They only have $2.9 million available in cap space.
Huh. Yeah, they're not in good shape.
Yeah. You know who's actually in decent shape? Would be Green Bay. They're 11th. They've got $6.4 million available in cap space.
Hey, maybe they can get in the Aaron Rodgers sweep.
The one team, and you're like, wait, how? Well, remember how they did that contract. The team with the most available cap space heading into this trade deadline is the Browns at $33.4 million. And if you're like, wait, remember how they did the Deshaun Watson trade or
guaranteed
contract?
money.
Yep.
There's a difference.
His salary was like only $1 million or something like that this year. They did it because they knew he was going to get suspended. And Panthers then are number 2, but it drops significantly. Panthers number 2 at $10.7 million.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles are in really good shape. They're 3 at 9.5. So
interesting.
Yeah, but Packers, they're 11th in the most cap space available right now.
Well, okay, that speaks to the Packers operating philosophy. Andrew Brandt's talked about it a million times on his podcast that's the way the Packers do business. They don't do those backloaded contracts that get you into salary cap hell.
Might change next year, though.
Right. But that's never really, I don't know. The Packers, as much as Brian Gutekunst.
Were you going to say Mike McCarthy?
I was going to say Mike Gutekunst. I'm just going to make up somebody here. As much as Brian Gutekunst occasionally will do something a little different, and he does, by and large, he goes back to the broad philosophy that the team ascribes to
and
following.
I think we have to factor in the COVID year screwed up a lot of stuff in salary caps, because the salary cap went down.
Right.
It went down a lot after it goes up on average a little over $10 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So you have these teams that want to obviously remain competitive and go for it. So they had to do stuff differently with those contracts.
Right. So we need to shake this out another 2-3 years. I don't think the Packers are going to turn into one of those teams that is like, oh gosh, there are $80 million over cap going into the season. No. They're going to manage the way that they always have. they are a team that always wants to be competitive. Back to the evergreen debate that we've have about, is it better to go all in or to constantly be competitive, even if that means you're never going to be super excellent unless everything breaks your way? Like, be like a Buffalo Bills or Kansas City Chiefs, where it's like a certain player or something like that. I mean, look, the Packers kind of were that team in the early 2010s. They were the Bills. They were the Chiefs. They were really, really good almost all the time. It's just they couldn't get it done. Now they're kind of in that next tier of always competitive. Sure, they can get to the Super Bowl. And yeah, I'm saying this after 3 straight 13-win seasons, but especially 2 years, or the first one seemed a little overrated. Second two, pretty good. But they're, by and large, they're a competitive team. How long do they want to keep doing that? I think that is the Packer operating philosophy. I don't think, for as much as people keep talking about, oh, the 70s and 80s are back, I don't think that's necessarily going to happen until there's some massive turnover in the front office. Like, it has to be post-Murphy, post-Gutekunst to get to that position, and I don't see that happening. Even if Gutekunst doesn't have, who knows how much longer he'll be.
You know how many times I've heard that analogy over the last 5, 6, 7 years? 70s and 80s are back.
Gosh, everyone says that.
And obviously I didn't experience it. I'm not immune to the fact that I've been a spoiled Packers fan throughout my entire life. Okay. That I can remember. 92, I was 6 years old, for crying out loud. I'm not immune to that. But at the same time, I've been hearing about this for how long? And I don't think we've gotten there yet, have we?
No. And and also we're 7 games into the season. There's a lot of time there. I know it's getting late early to go all Yogi Berra, but there's still a lot of time to turn this around. The way this NFC is looking, you could still be like a 2 or 3 seed potentially if everything breaks just right. How confident are you in the Vikings running away with this?
They've had close games. I think they win the division.
I think they do, but that does not strike me as a juggernaut right now.
They almost remind me of the Packers' first year under Matt LaFleur. Remember that worst 13-3?
Right, but yep, that's what I was just referencing. Yeah, exactly. That might be the kind of team they've got. They're not going to go, they're not a Super Bowl winning team for sure. Insert joke about the Vikings winning a Super Bowl. But this particular team, and like I was saying a couple weeks ago, the Vikings look like there's a lot of spark potential that you see during the game, but then there's a lot of periods where they're kind of more like last year, and I think that's because they're learning more, which goes back to the Packer argument of maybe this is a team that's learning because you got younger players out there, so it shouldn't be entirely freaking out about this team. So yeah, the notion of 70s, 80s, I've always said, gosh, how are Packer fans going to react when they go through a long drought period? But now that I think about it, how long of a drought would they necessarily even have? The structure of the entire organization would have to radically change, because it's a lot different than it was in the 70s and 80s. It's not just a coach. The Packers have a very well-run organization to keep them constantly competitive. They don't become the Texans. They don't become the Jaguars. They don't become the Browns. That's the thing. They're probably always going to be somewhat competitive. So no, it's not the 70s and 80s again. That might seriously be past us.
We got to take a quick break here, but let me throw this out there. Would that what you just said with how it's ran, would that be different though if they had a single owner?
Yeah. It's just different that way. You'd have to have, in order for it to be run the same way, you'd have to have someone that has all of the sentiments of Packerdom in one person. Good luck finding that one person who's also a businessman.
Right.
Because that's what these folks are. They are businessmen. There's just a whole lot to factor in. So no, I don't see that.
All right. We got to take a quick break. Really short one, because then we're done already. So, I wish sometimes we didn't have Twitter, man. Actually, I wish it a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm addicted. But it was cray-cray yesterday. Yeah. It was cray-cray. All right, so we got less than a minute here, so not really anything to get to. But I'm sure that we will have reaction from Packers locker room access
See the
today. So.
renderings of the new Titans Stadium?
I did.
I mean, it kind of looks like the Raiders Stadium, sort of. I mean, from the inside, and then from the outside, it looks like a something you would build in a new development outside Fiserv Forum.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the best. Like, it doesn't look at all like a stadium outside, but then inside it looks like I said, it looks a lot like whatever the corporate name is. It's the Raider Stadium. It looks like that, only with a lot of Columbia blue.
All right.
I mean, it'll be fine. It'll host a whole bunch of things. I know why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the
It's weird. I mean, it's kind of weird to think that Nissan Stadium, or it's going to be gone soon.
Right. Well, I agree. So
I'm going to be going to the Vikings Museum on Friday.
ooh,
Never been there before.
Look at you. All right.
Uh-huh. And did you see the new Payton's Places is with Ahmad Rashad in Mall of America, where he made the miracle catch in 1980?
I did not.
Uh-huh. I got to watch that. I just read about it.
Ahmad Rashad.
Ahmad.
Inside the Stuff.
Yes.
God, I love that show as a kid.
Yes.
Saturday mornings.
Uh-huh.
And then, oh yeah, he actually played football. So
That too.
BFF to Michael Jordan back.
Little
in the
did
day.
you know.
Yep.